welcome to another episode of Conscious Straight Talk with Katie and Lindsey.
Hi, my name is Katie Hutchinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified mediator, and we're so happy to have you here this lovely Monday morning, where it's going to be 86 today.
I know it's going to be a warm one here in SoCal.
Yeah.
And I'm Lindsey. I'm the mama behind MalibuMamaLoves.com, and I'm also a certified conscious trauma-informed life coach. So before we get started with today's show, I just wanted to check in with Katie really quick because she's been so brave sharing her healing grief journey. As you guys know, you said, what, about a month ago now? It feels like it's only been a week or two.
Yesterday, yeah. It does feel that way.
You were like a month, and I was like, really? But
Yeah.
I want to check in with you and share with everybody. How are you feeling a month after the funeral, a month after losing him? The new normal is starting to kind of appear.
Not really. But
Not really. Not
I'm
yet.
learning
It
a
takes
lot
time.
about the grief process because I have lost people that are close to me, but not somebody this not my person.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned is after the funeral, everybody's reaching out to you when the person passes away and the funeral's coming up and all that. You have a big party or whatever you do. We had a big celebration of life. So that was a huge event and focusing on that. And then the funeral's over and everybody forgets about you. And that's when the real grief really, really starts.
Yeah.
That's when the grief just...
I feel like it's maybe even a week after the funeral, or because I mean, you think about any sort of event, there's all this lead up, and then there's always
Weddings.
like a week come down afterwards of like, it's done, and then I feel like you get to the mental, okay, this is real,
right? And
it's real.
The whole first year. Now I haven't been through the whole first year, but I have been with friends, who have lost people. And every holiday is a trigger, especially for me, because I spend every holiday with my dad. So every holiday is a trigger. I think it's very important that your friends, family support system check in on you like once a week. Like, how are you doing? How are you really doing? You know? And so many people in our society don't know how to talk about death. They're afraid of death, so they just ignore it and they ignore you when you're suffering.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why we wanted to start this show. I know we say this all the time, but it really is about communicating. We want to encourage you guys to communicate and talk with each other, right? Like we're sharing this today because you know what? Maybe this is a reminder for you. You have somebody that lost somebody else, a couple of weeks ago or a month, and maybe
Call
this
them,
is your reminder
text
right
them.
now to just send a little shout out, a little text. It takes you 2 seconds, but it can really mean the world to somebody. When they're going through that.
It can.
And likewise, I'm just going to continue this on here because it is so important to have these conversations. Our show today is about having conversations with your kids on very difficult topics. We are going to discuss something today. We've been talking about drugs the past couple of days because, we do need to talk about these things with our children and each other, our coworkers, whoever, because knowledge is power.
And not very many people know about the drug we're going to talk about today. It's a very new drug.
Yeah.
And
but knowledge is power. And when these people are, going into parties or being around, which is inevitable when you're going through middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And, there's always the kid in there, oh, try this. I want my kids to know. You want your kids to already know what that is.
Don't take
Know
that.
how dangerous it is and give them that power to say, oh, no, I'm good. I don't want that. I'm just going to go hang out over here or whatever. But
even
really
just go have
them.
a beer, please, go, don't take anything in pill form or any sort of substance.
And that comes from talking about it at home. This is where we can make true change. So today we're going to talk about a new synthetic opioid. That's kind of like fentanyl, but more potent.
20 to 100 times more strong is what stronger is what I read. But
so this is called isotonitazine.
Yes.
Isotonitazine, streetwise ISO.
So we're going to call it ISO because isotonitazine is a little too challenging.
It's a little bit of a tongue twister.
Yes.
But anyway, this comes from China. Now, the interesting thing I found out about this, and this is again why conversation is so important, China banned fentanyl. And within 2 or 3 months, the chemists came up with ISO and released that. So, this is what we're saying with having conversations. It's a perfect example of, if you just remove it, if you just take it away, if you just make it something that they can't have, then they'll be fine. Well, no, that doesn't work. We need to teach these people. We need to be talking about this with everybody. So
and it's a Schedule 1 drug, which means it's a really bad drug. And so, yeah, so the chemists came in, they started making ISO, and they just started selling it over the internet. And so, so you could get it anywhere. Okay, so it comes in a yellowish or off-white powder that can be cut into other drugs like heroin, cocaine.
Or
it can
pills,
be put
tablets.
put into pills, Molly. It can be put into sublingual things like a piece of paper, like ecstasy. So yeah, it's scary.
But the scariest thing is that it's actually legal. It's a Schedule 1 legal drug in the USA.
Still illegal in the USA because people don't really know about it. It's really occurring. They're seeing it a lot in Ohio, and they're seeing it in Florida. Spring breakers are overdosing and dying.
Here's the problem, Katie. Mm-hmm. Chinese dealers are all over the internet online offering this in bulk deals, making it so cheap. People just click a button.
I know.
And it comes right to their doorstep.
Yep.
And that's the issue. It's legal, and doctors don't know about it yet.
So that's the biggest problem.
I think
that firemen and doctors, mostly a lot of them don't know about this. We've gone from 6 overdoses a year in 2019.
No, a month. Oh, last summer.
I'm sorry, 6 overdoses a month
last summer to now
40
today.
to 50 a month. Is that correct?
Yeah,
that's correct.
And that's only in 9 months. So we went from 6 to 50.
Right, and it's only going to get worse and worse. But the scariest thing is that doctors, on average, in firemen and paramedics, they don't know about this. And there really isn't a screening for this because they don't know much about it.
There's no test, and the issue is they're not getting enough Narcan when they're being discovered because it's so much more powerful. They need a double shot of Narcan, whereas with fentanyl or morphine, you just get one.
Usually one.
And this is not working.
There's no test. Well, there's no test, so they don't know. So they're just going to give you one thing of Narcan, and you're probably going to die.
Yeah.
So,
it's scary.
Yep, it's very scary.
So, the effects are sedation, makes you sleepy, probably takes away all of your pain.
Anything in the opioid family is going to make you tired, unless I don't
feel
know what
nothing.
To say. Yeah.
Like, I don't think you feel anything, do you?
I think you just feel calm and you want to go to sleep.
Yeah. Respiratory failure, as we discussed with the last 2 drugs that we've talked about, it's the same. It works up through the brain. The brain starts
the central nervous system.
And the brain starts telling you, oh, you don't need to breathe, and slowing down your respiratory to where you stop breathing.
Yeah. And then there's nausea, there's vomiting, there's cardiovascular issues, there's neurological issues, which really doesn't sound appealing to me.
No.
There's coma.
That's like wasn't it like the mid-90s where there was a type of, you just said it, the tablet that you take. No, the tablet, the drug. Ecstasy. And that was turning people, like it was turning their brain to mush. Didn't someone release that in the 90s? There was a thing that went around and people were getting
ecstasy. It wasn't ecstasy. Actually, ecstasy was hurting I'm not a doctor. I have to say this every time because of my license. But what I heard is it was affecting your spinal cord, which is not, and the spinal fluids. So, people started to have back issues. Of course, you had to use it a lot for that.
Yeah. So how do you take ISO? You inhale it. You take it intravenously. Intravenously.
That's right. No, that's right. Intravenously.
Through a needle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Under the tongue. So like one of those little pills or tablet or something. A liquid form. And the scariest part of it is...
put it into a pill.
Yeah.
They can put it into a pill.
Scariest part is...
Oh, this is the scariest part. This is the part that this is the biggest thing to me that totally freaks me out. You can die from second-hand use of this. So let's say, here's an example. Okay. Lindsey has been taking ISO and she used this hand to sniff it up her nose. And let's say I grab her hand like this. I'm not doing ISO. Yep. It can go through the skin, and you can inhale it like secondhand smoke, but worse. And then I can be just as high or almost as high as her. Yeah. So now we both need Narcan.
Which is so scary.
Which is terrifying.
People forget that our skin is our biggest organ.
Yep.
Right? And as we're even just walking through the day, we are absorbing 60 to 80% of the air around us.
Well, that's frightening.
It is very scary. So it makes perfect sense to me when you're saying, oh, even just touching it, of course your skin's going to absorb that.
And you're breathing it in.
Straight to your bloodstream. Like, boom.
Yep.
you know?
Mhm.
It's very scary. So that secondhand bit of it is, I mean, this
So
is
don't
why
be
we gotta
around
talk
anybody
about it.
that uses it.
Yeah, and we've got to talk about it. We need to, I didn't know about this until you brought it up, you know, and that's why we've got to share these things. So how to get off it? Rehab. You need medication.
Counseling, family issues, deal with your PTSD, anxiety, depression, get to the
Yeah.
bottom of what the pain is, you know, and deal
Yeah.
with that pain.
Well, it's again in healing our unhealed childhood wounds.
Yeah. It
Or,
depends.
or surgery or something major,
or
kind of, you know,
a
body
terrible
pains.
diagnosis, or
Yeah.
there's so many different things. Being
Yeah.
raped when you're 30, or
Yeah.
you know, terrible things.
Yeah, you need to go through some.
But you
some
have to
programs
deal
and
with
some
it.
help.
So counseling, I think inpatient or outpatient is very necessary.
Yeah.
They're going to use methadone or Suboxone, just like they do with other opioids, to help you come down so that you don't go back on it. And am I forgetting anything? Medication. Well, I just
That's
said
what
that.
you said. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is to just, you know, to heal. You've got to attend to those wounds that are inside. You know,
Yeah.
we're starting our masterclass tomorrow. If you guys haven't signed up yet, I'll post the link down in the comments. But we're going to start talking about your unhealed childhood wounds, and we have some great exercises that we do during this week. It's just 4 days and it's totally free. So we just want to, you know, share the healing and get you guys started on that. But
It's all on
if
healing
you're scared
your
of
PTSD.
ISO, you need to call the ER
Yes.
for urgent care.
Well, and then you need to tell them, I just did ISO. Give me
Yeah.
2 things of Narcan.
Yeah,
That is
that's
if
so
you're
scary.
still with it. And
And
not
just
in a
know that
coma.
about your kids or your family members, your coworkers, your best friends, whoever it is.
They just
You know,
can't
be
take pills.
aware.
They can't. I mean, kids do all kinds of crazy stuff. They can't
Yeah.
just take a pill. I feel like in the 80s, you could sniff cocaine and not die.
It's because we didn't know. Nobody knew.
Well, I mean, if you did enough of it, you're going to die. But you know what I'm saying. Like, usually it wasn't.
Well, the chemists just come up with crazy
I know.
as time
Or
progresses.
maybe it was cut
crazier
with
things.
Ajax. Maybe it was
Oh,
cut with
God.
Ajax. Baking soda. That's something they use because it looks like it.
And it's all awful.
Yeah.
So anyway, you guys, we're going to leave you there for today.
Yeah.
Wednesday, we're going to jump back into talking about domestic violence again. So
Mhm.
I hope you come back and join us then.
Yes.
And again, if you guys are scared of this drug or even just talk about it, knowledge is power.
Mhm.
You know, we need to let these kids know that this is out there. Even just let them watch this show to start the conversation
Yeah.
with you guys, you know,
Yeah.
and get real information.
And what is, you know, I want to talk about the age because my daughter, I have a 10-year-old and I have a 13-year-old. And honestly, I talk to both of them. I talk to the
yeah,
10-year-old and the
absolutely.
13-year-old, and I have an 18-year-old.
Well, I always have from the
yeah,
beginning.
me too.
You
Me
know,
too.
I want them to know. I'm
Me
scared
too.
to death of them having, you know, there's always that one kid.
I know.
Oh, come try this.
I
Come try
know.
this. It's great. It'll make you feel
I
so
know.
good. And
I
I
know.
want my kids to be empowered.
Yes.
I want your kids to be empowered too.
Mhm.
Right?
We got to talk about it.
So, all right, you guys, happy Monday.
Bye.
We'll see you next
Happy
time.
Monday.